to my 2020 NFL mock draft. So, to get started, it'll be simple. It'll be the full first round, there'll be no trades, and I can't wait to see how many of these I get correct. So first overall, you got the Cincinnati Bengals, who went 2-14 last season and really surprised me. I thought they were going to be a better team than that. They dropped their first 3 games, but they were all against tough opponents, and they played 2 of them very closely. The only other one was the San Francisco 49ers, who they lost by a substantial amount to, but guess what? Then they went to the Super Bowl. So I looked at that after 3 weeks, and I thought they were going to be able to at least recover, but they sure didn't, and they went 2-14. So the Bengals have almost any direction they could go here at the first overall pick, but I think most people know what they'll do being this low. Oh, and look, the commissioner's coming to the podium now. With the first pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU. So that's not really surprising. I think most people have him going there, and that's what makes sense. They're a very all over the place team. They've got so much they need to do, and I think with Andy Dalton getting a little up there in age, they know they've got to move on. So you're just going to take the best player available here, which Joe Burrow is a franchise changer, and we'll see how he does in the NFL. Now, second overall, we've got the Washington Redskins, who come in at a 3-13 record from last season. So this is another pick that we've got here, and I'm going to say the Redskins are going to select Chase Young, defensive end, the Ohio State University. And I'm going to say that because I believe that the Redskins look at it, and they're going to look at it like most people are looking at it, like this is maybe the best player available. I don't know if I necessarily agree with those opinions, but it sure seems to be almost consensus that this guy is extremely talented and needs to go high. So with all the things that the Redskins need to get going, they're just going to be here, and they're going to select a great player in Chase Young. It just makes sense. Third overall, 3-12-1 Lions, who are slightly better than the 3-13 Redskins. The Lions will have a long way to go here. Patricia's got a bunch of stuff going on. You think about Darius Slay leaving because of some of the comments he made towards, Matt Patricia made towards Darius Slay, and you just gotta wonder what's going on within that organization right now. But I think the obvious solution to that is pretty simple. They've got a lot of positions. They're another team that's got a lot of positions they could hit, but I think you got to replace them. So right here, the Lions are going to select Jeffrey Okudah, cornerback, the Ohio State University. And that'll be a very good player. He seems like a shutdown corner. It's a good pick. Next up, we've got the Giants. Now, the Giants have Daniel Jones not going to need a quarterback. Their line is actually a lot. When I looked at their roster for this, their line is a lot better than I realized. They've got Saquon, so they're probably not looking running back at number 4 to pick a second running back to sit behind him. And receivers, Darius Slayton came on, and they've got at least decent talent there. So I think they're going to look defensive side of the ball, and I think they're going to go Isaiah Simmons, linebacker from Clemson. He's an amazing player on defense. He was just making so many plays when you watched him, and it's not a surprise that he goes this high. Now, we've got the Miami Dolphins, who went 5-11, and that was probably one of the most fun teams to watch grow last season. It was crazy how much they changed, and now they're really getting a lot better. However, I'm a Bills fan, so I don't really want them to get that much better. But I think they're doing the right things, and I think they will end up being fairly good competition this season, even. And Brian Flores is working things in the right direction. But they've got 3 first-round picks, and since I said earlier there's no trades for this, we're going to go with... We're going to look to one of the positions that they can probably improve on, and that is offensive tackle, where they select Tristan Wirfs from Iowa. Checking this guy out, learning about him, he's an athletic beast. It was insane, the stuff he was doing. I think he holds an Iowa record for one of the cleans at their school, and watching that clip was pretty crazy. And even his foot speed and other stuff was amazing. So I mean, he'll be a heck of a tackle for them, and I'm sure they'll be happy with that pick. So now we've got the 6th overall pick, which belongs to the Los Angeles Chargers, and they went 5-11 last season, and that was surprising, to say the least. And it feels like they just fell off the face of the earth. I don't really know, but obviously Phillip Rivers moved on from there, and I just can't imagine a world where they move into their new LA stadium and they do it with Tyrod Taylor. As a Bills fan, I enjoyed a few years of Tyrod. The 3rd year wasn't as fun, but I think you just can't say that this guy, who I think is almost either 30 or almost 30 now, is going to be the guy of the future. So I think they have to go quarterback here, and from what I'm hearing, even though Tua is available, and Tua is a heck of a prospect, they're going Justin Herbert, quarterback from Oregon. And I don't think he's a bad player, but I think he will be boosted up higher than he should be. I think there's definitely a lot of talent here. And Herbert's a really interesting pick at this spot. But for them, they need a quarterback, and I guess I can't fault them for it. 7th overall, Carolina Panthers, 5-11. So, yeah, right here it's the 7th overall pick, so I feel the obvious answer is to go with Josh Allen, quarterback. Wait, no. That's wrong. That is wrong. Okay, they're actually going to go with Josh Allen, linebacker. Wait, no. That's wrong too. Okay, I know. I got it this time. Lamar Jackson, cornerback, Nebraska. Hold on. That's wrong too. Okay, I got this. Their actual pick will be Kayvon Chason, linebacker, LSU. Holy cow, this guy was a freak. Watching him, he was just so good. It is so fun to watch him. He was all over the field, making all different types of plays. I think the Panthers are getting a steal, getting him at 7. But I don't think as the other teams look at it as much like that. They need him. And it is a great pick right here. He will be a heck of a player. So now, 8th overall, we got the Arizona Cardinals, who come in at 5-10-1. Man, I just remember the beginning of last season and having that tie with watching a little bit of the game between the Lions and the Cardinals, where they tied, and it was just like, both these teams may actually be decent, but no, neither of those teams were good. So you look at the Cardinals roster, and I mean, they're set at receiver, they're set at running back, they've got a rookie quarterback, the interior offensive line is good, the defense was pretty balanced all over. So what I said here is that they'll go offensive tackle Mekhi Becton from Louisville, and he's a pretty solid player, but you may be asking yourself, okay, they've got 2 decent tackles. Well, Marcus Gilbert's he's past 30 now, and I mean, he could be Andrew Whitworth and stay on forever, but I mean, you get a young guy in there, and I'm sure they'll be happy with Mekhi. He'll be plenty good for them. Now, 9th overall, Jacksonville Jaguars went 6-10 last season. They will go with a man at the defensive tackle position from Auburn, Derek Brown. This guy was another guy who was just creating havoc. He honestly, in my opinion, may be the best defensive line player in this draft. But he's on the interior, so he's not getting as much love as Chase Young or anyone else like that. But he is a crazy player, and I think Jacksonville will be plenty happy with them. Okay, now we'll start speeding it up. 10th overall. Cleveland Browns, there were a few issues last season. Two of them being Freddie Kitchens and the offensive line. But let's just listen to a little clip here from Baker Mayfield.
We're still going to go 4 wides, all right? Come here. Hell yeah, put them up there. Hell yeah.
The guy's an idiot.
So, as you heard from that,
I thought Moose was our
it was
mascot.
pretty obvious that was from 2018, and Baker was not happy with Freddie Kitchens then. I mean, it may have been in a joking manner, but I saw that clip before last season, and I knew that guy was not going to lead the team to anything special. So, much happier to see a new coach in there. And with the struggles they had in the offensive line, they'll take Jedward Wills, offensive tackle from Alabama, here at 10. And hopefully, with all that talent, that'll help them advance. 11th overall, we get the New York Jets. New York Jets, you guys are going to be surprised, but we've got to run on offensive tackles. Andrew Thomas, Georgia, once again. All these guys, I believe that they're really talented, and all these teams need offensive tackles, so it makes sense for them to pick them. So they go offensive tackle to here, Andrew Thomas from Georgia. 12th overall, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders. They've got a few picks. So right here, you look, you say, who's available? And it's like, the thing you think is, well, they need some receiver help, because Hunter Renfrow led their team in receiving last year, basically in most statistics. And you look and you see Judy, you see CD Lamb. I like both of those guys a lot. Judy's an amazing route runner. CD Lamb is amazing in the open field, But there's one thing that you think of when you think of the Raiders. When you think of people like Al Davis and those famous people from the Raiders, you know Al Davis loves his speed. So they're going to go Henry Ruggs III, wide receiver from Alabama. Now, I wasn't amazed with his speed when I saw it, with how much I heard everybody talking about his speed, that it was just his speed was undeniable. He is very fast, I agree. He's just not crazy fast, in my opinion. However, he is still an incredible receiver and a great pick here at 12. 13th overall, we've got the San Francisco 49ers, who went 13-3, but this Colt pick is from the trade they made with the Colts, and the Colts were 7-9, so that's how they're sitting here. Now, San Francisco just lost. They just traded for Emmanuel Sanders last season, but he's already gone, so guess what? They're going to go with another wide receiver following Henry Ruggs. CD Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma. Oh my gosh, is Kyle Shanahan going to love this guy? And this is the only reason that I picked right here when I was looking at the Niners. I'm like, they got to replace some receiving talent. And I was looking at Lamb, I was looking at Judy, but I was like, Kyle Shanahan is going to love the open field ability of CD Lamb, and I think he's definitely going to get him the ball in space, because he knows, I mean, his offensive schemes have been amazing the past 2 years, really, so I'm sure that he will not have trouble getting him the ball. Alright, 14th overall, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 7-9 last season, but they're obviously adding Wow. Just got confused thinking about Tampa Brady and Tampa Bay at the same time, but they just added Tom Brady. And yeah, that'll definitely boost the offense up a little. Not having, hopefully, as many turnovers this season on offense will definitely help the defense, because their defense ranked well last season, but you look at their defense and you still see a weak spot at cornerback. So you go C.J. Henderson from Florida, staying in state to play with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it makes perfect sense. If I remember correctly, he was one of the players that when he was in zone coverage, he was just getting in passing windows and messing with the quarterback, and he's talented as well. 15th overall, Denver Broncos, 7-9 last season. So the Broncos are here, and they've got a decent amount of holes, really. Even though they got to 7-9 last season, it was a pretty weak roster to go 7-9. You got Drew Lock, so you can't give up on him. So I don't think they're looking quarterback here, because they just got him. They can't go high quarterback pick again, I don't think. So what you do is you look at some of your positions, and you got Cortland Sutton and Noah Fant, but Fant's a tight end, and Cortland Sutton is only one receiver, so. And take the best route runner in the class right here in Jerry Jeudy out of Alabama, and I'm sure they will not be disappointed. And if Drew Lock starts playing well, that offense could be something to watch, especially with the running backs they've got on that roster. Next up, 16th overall, the Atlanta Falcons, also at 7-9. This team obviously had a down year, to say the least. Not happy with what happened last season, but still plenty of talent on this roster to do some incredible things. And position we're going to go here is Grant Delpit, safety, out of LSU or DBU, and it makes sense. He's a great player, and the Falcons have one safety that is a very good player in Keanu Neal, but seems to get hurt a lot, and it doesn't seem they have a second safety. So those two things on top of each other, they're going to need safety help to play the other side, the other safety position that Keanu's not playing, and if Keanu is hurt, then they're definitely going to need some safety help. So now we've got the 17th overall pick, which belongs to the Dallas Cowboys at 8-8. There's one man you're looking at right now. Jerry Jones. Just hired Mark McCarthy to be his new head coach. And I'm sitting here, and it's like Tua is still available somehow at the 17th pick in the draft. And you just wonder if Jerry is going to take a shot on him. Because Dak Prescott is still on the team, but Tua is available. And I sat here on this Cowboys pick for a while before I decided that I don't think Jerry will take Tua. Even with the talent, I think he's like, if he needed a quarterback, it would be different. But he doesn't need a quarterback, and the injuries recently to Tua probably will scare him off just enough. So the Cowboys will go Christian Fulton here, cornerback, also LSU, DBU, consecutively. It makes sense. There's a lot of good corners in this draft, and they're going to need to replace Byron Jones, who just got paid by the team, with the next pick, who are the Miami Dolphins, 5-11 last season once again, from the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Minka Fitzpatrick trade, which I would argue both teams are probably happy with that trade at this point. But he can't get past here. The Dolphins need a QB, and they'll go for Tua Tagovailoa here from Alabama. It's just, he's too talented to get past here, but at the same time, the injuries will push him back to this spot. I think this landing spot makes a ton of sense for him. And, he's a great player. Just the injury scares, and we'll move on. So 19th overall, we've got the Raiders. This pick came from the Chicago Bears. The Khalil Mack trade is still affecting this team, these two teams, which is pretty crazy to say. It just feels like when you make a trade that far in advance, it shouldn't have effects this far out into the future, but it does. And this was interesting because the player I have them take here is Jeff Gladney, the cornerback from TCU. Now, I completed my whole mock draft before I realized that Jeff Gladney was injured this season. But the funny thing was, before I had Gladney going to the Raiders at 12, and I had who did I take? Who did I have them take before? I'm sorry, one of the receivers, not CD, Henry Ruggs, obviously, because he had the speed. So Henry Ruggs actually fell down to 19 before, and I had them taking Gladney at 12 because I figured I watched Gladney and I was amazed with him. But it seemed like everybody else is looking at him and not evaluating him as highly as me. But we saw last season that Mike Mayock and John Gruden took a guy in Cleveland Farrell at pick 4, which was not what everybody else was thinking to do at the time, because they evaluated him highly. And I'm going to guess that they evaluated Jeff Gladney high as well. So I think even though he got injured, I thought they would have taken him at 12, honestly. But I feel like they could definitely say yes to him at pick number 19, but the injury is a concern, so who knows. Moving along here, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars with the 20th overall selection from the Los Angeles Rams, which comes from the Jalen Ramsey trade. And once again, the Jaguars have a lot of spots to fill, but a good player is available in Xavier McKinney, safety out of Alabama, and really, defensive backs that come out of the SEC really just seem to be very talented, and you don't need to worry about him at all. So I'm pretty sure he'll come into the league and be a fine player. Moving along, 21st overall pick belongs to the Philadelphia Eagles. They look at their roster, their defensive line is plenty talented, their secondary is deep, even if there's no amazing players in it. You want to think about receiver here, but those top 3 guys went already, so maybe not yet. They've got tight ends, they've got young running backs, they've got Carson Wentz, so what are they going to do? They're going to go linebacker Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma. And once again, a lot of these linebackers look really similar, but they were almost all flying around the field looking really athletic and talented. And I don't think they'll be sad at all to have Kenneth Murray on their team. And now, we've got the 22nd overall pick, which belongs to the Minnesota Vikings, who are 10-6, from the Buffalo Bills, who also were 10-6. This comes from the Stephon Diggs trade, which I am plenty happy with. I'm happy that my Bills got Stephon Diggs, but I think he did need to leave Minnesota because there was some bad feelings there. So there's 2 positions that the Vikings really need to fill now. They basically emptied their entire cornerback room, and their entire wide receiving core also left, except for Adam Thielen. Now, they've got a choice to make here. Do they want to go wide receiver or corner? And they've got 2 picks pretty close together, but I'm just going to guess that they're going to go wide receiver first, and they'll go Denzel Mims from Baylor. That one may be a little surprised with Justin Jefferson still on the board, but I think that's what will happen. 23rd overall, New England Patriots, 12-4. Patriots were... It was an interesting season for them last season, but it'll be a completely different game without Brady. But yeah, you sit here and you look at them and you go, well, since they don't have Brady, do they want to go quarterback? Those top 3 quarterbacks were already taken, being Tua, Herbert, and Burrow. So it's like, are they going to reach for a quarterback here? Potentially reach, maybe not. I think Belichick will be like, okay, we can still get a talented quarterback in the next few rounds if we don't go quarterback here. So they just look at their big board and say, who's the best player available? They go Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle from South Carolina. Holy cow, he was a game wrecker as well. He was really close behind Derek Brown, I remember. He was a very good player, and to get him at 23 is insane. But Patriots have basically a ton of spots to look at, and if they just go best player, unlike a lot of these teams, which I have actually been trying to fill positional needs for them, the Patriots just go in best player. Javon Kinlaw, maybe a steal at pick 23. Next, we've got the New Orleans Saints. 13-3 last season, heck of a season, but then they get eliminated in their first playoff game, which was, that must have been disappointing for Saints fans. But this may be nice because if you live in Louisiana, you may like this. Patrick Queen, linebacker out of LSU, keep the guy in state. Once again, him, Kenneth Murray, and who's the top guy? Isaiah Simmons. 3 linebackers. I mean, all 3 of them were so close in talent, splitting hairs on what I actually believed was, or who I actually believed was the best. But once again, just like the Patriots before, they're getting a really good player here. I mean, this I'm being serious when I say I think this draft is loaded with talent. But now we've got the 25th overall pick, which belongs to the Minnesota Vikings, who were 10-6 last season. This is their actual pick, not the Bills' pick, and I think they'll go for A.J. Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. All these cornerbacks, there were so many highly rated corners in this draft. I'm getting a lot of them mixed up, but I'm sure that he was a good player, and they absolutely need cornerbacks. So with this pick, if they don't go cornerback at number 22, they have to go cornerback at 25 here. He's the best corner on the board, so they'll take him from Clemson. All right, now we've got the Miami Dolphins. This is the Laramie Tunsil trade because this is the pick they acquired from the Houston Texans. Now, the Dolphins will look at their board, and they're probably going to say, well, we hit offensive line, we hit quarterback, and the defense wasn't terrible last season. We added a lot of defensive talent in free agency. What do we need? And it's like even a lot of the receivers played well last season. But Ryan Fitzpatrick led our team in rushing. That's an issue. Even with a weak offensive line, it is a huge issue that Ryan Fitzpatrick led the team in rushing. So they're going to do what I think is the right choice here. And they're going to select J.K. Dobbins, running back, the Ohio State University. Honestly, I have J.K. Dobbins as my second back. I think Jonathan Taylor is better, but I do believe that they'll go J.K. Dobbins here because I've heard some people that are insiders in the NFL say that the Dolphins are really interested in J.K. Dobbins, and I'm sure if they're really interested in him, if he's here at 26, they will not pass him up. 27th overall, the Seattle Seahawks. So, Seattle's an interesting team. Really quick to say, they lost Davion Clowney. We think he could come back, but as of now, it's very unclear. So they're going to want another edge player, and I think A.J. Epinesa. That's a tough name for me. I don't know. Epinesa, I think. Out of Iowa, plenty talented edge player, and I think it's the right pick to replace him. 28th overall. Baltimore Ravens, 14-2 last season. Unbelievable year for Lamar Jackson running the ball and stuff. But throwing the ball, seems like you got Hollywood, you got those tight ends, you got Mark Ingram. I mean, that's pretty good, but the receiver room feels a little weak. Now, I'm not in love with Justin Jefferson, but I think this is the pick they'll go with. And I think it makes sense for their roster. They need some more receiver talent because it seems like everywhere else on the team is really talented. So Justin Jefferson, wide receiver from LSU, pick makes sense here. 29th overall, we've got the Tennessee Titans, who went 9-7 last season, but Tannehill came in and turned up for them at the end of the season, which propelled them to that AFC Championship game before the Chiefs decided to be down double digits again in the playoffs and come back and beat them. But, yeah, I think they'll also look to be just like the Seahawks 2 picks ago and look at the other edge player who's very similar in Yetur Gross-Matos. These edge players have hard names, but he's out of Penn State, and I think those two pretty equal in talent. And both these teams will have similar players, and I think they'll fill positions of need. 30th overall. So we've got the Green Bay Packers here. Now, I think back. Brett Favre was still on the team when Aaron Rodgers was drafted. How old was Brett Favre when Aaron Rodgers was drafted? The answer is Brett Favre was 35 when Aaron Rodgers was drafted. And he sat behind him for a few years, and boy, oh boy, does it look like it helped. So the Packers sit here now, at this point, and they see a man by the name of Jordan Love, who plenty of scouts love. They knock him for how many interceptions he threw, but they say that that's because of the lack of talent around him, and he was just trying to make plays. So I think if Jordan Love gets drafted here by the Packers and sits behind Aaron Rodgers till Aaron either wants to retire or leaves the Packers, that'll be great for him, and I think they'll be happy in their future if they can do that. If they can have, I think Jordan Love is the pick for the Packers right here. 31st overall. San Francisco 49ers, 13-3. Holy cow, this team is talented all over the place. But when you look at their roster, one position of weakness, safety. So we're going to go Antoine Winfield Jr. here from Minnesota. There may be a little biased here, just because, obviously, knowing his father, who was drafted by my favorite team, the Bills. But I think that since he is the best available safety, and the 49ers need some safety help, he could go here. 32nd overall, Kansas City Chiefs, 12-4 Super Bowl champions. Once again, plenty of receiving talent. Offensive line played as well. Patrick Mahomes is insane. So none of those positions. Defense is kind of all over the place, but even with that, I think Andy Reid is sitting here and going, our running backs could improve, and especially with Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift on the board. I think they'll go DeAndre Swift because I think DeAndre will fit in their scheme a little better, even though I think Jonathan Taylor is a better back overall, but I think DeAndre Swift fits their scheme more and is the right pick for their team. And I think comboing him with Damian Williams and whoever else is in that backfield will be perfect for that team. And I'm sure Andy Reid will get him the ball in plenty of great situations along with Patrick Mahomes. Now to move on to some unmentioned players to this point, but they're honorable mentions. Now, Jonathan Taylor, obviously, like I said, I think he's the best running back, but I think based off what I said, it makes sense that he won't get picked in the first round. Maybe a different team, but I think the Dolphins and the Chiefs will go those other two running backs if they go running back. Neville Gallimore, another one of the defensive line talents that was absolutely insane. Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU. When I was watching him, I just heard the announcer say the comparison to Darren Sproles, and it just can't leave my head now. It's like, I want this guy on my team, because if I can get Darren Sproles on my team when he was a rookie and get him for his whole career, I would want it. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire is another name I really like. Jalen Reagor is just an absolute playmaker, and he's from TCU, and I would love to have him on my team. And just for fun, Anthony Gordon was my favorite quarterback to watch, even if he's not the best quarterback in this draft. He was the one that I had the most fun watching. And right here's the complete list of everybody in order that I mock to every team now, so take a look at it. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.